In this episode of the Ear Scouts podcast, we're picking our favorite table service restaurants in each of the 4 parks at Walt Disney World. Plus, we're answering your questions about hotel perks, which shoes to pack for your next Disney World trip, and a whole lot more. We got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. Hi-ho, everybody. This is Rob with Ear Scouts coming to you from our makeshift studio here in Celebration, Florida. Welcome to episode 5 of the Ear Scouts podcast, where we gather around the virtual campfire to talk about Disney World and Disney parks around the world. I'm joined here in Celebration, as always, by Eric. Hi-ho, Eric.
Hi-ho, everyone.
Eric is going to be keeping up with the live chat over on Patreon. If you'd like to join us live as we record each episode and gain access to our exclusive Patreon after party, head on over to patreon.com/earscouts. And from the lovely state of Connecticut is Ear Scouts moderator and the host of Jessica Scraps on YouTube, Jessica. Hi-ho, Jessica.
Hi-ho, everybody. I am freshly back from Disneyland and super excited to be home and talking to y'all.
Welcome back. And finally, our resident Hoosier and Disney World historian coming to us from Indiana, Quizmaster Craig. Hi-ho, Craig.
Hi-ho, everybody.
Well, before we kick things off this week, we are excited to announce that we have a new partner, Audible.com. And I'm so pumped that they agreed to partner with us because I've been a subscriber for years and I love it. If you're not familiar with them, Audible is an audiobook subscription service. They have tons of audiobooks to choose from, and they are giving our listeners one audiobook for free. Just visit audibletrial.com/earscouts and sign up for a free 30-day trial. Well, before we all start listening to our free audiobooks, however, it is time to gather around the campfire and chat about what's new in the world of Disney parks this week. Jessica, why don't you start us off?
So I want to start off, and those of you that are watching on Patreon get to see my very exciting 2023 Christmas ears, because the news is they have announced, and actually in the parks, they have the new Christmas merchandise for 2025. And what I am most excited about is see these Christmas ears with this beautiful tartan plaid. They're coming out with the green version. So it is a green tartan plaid ear with the same green bow with the little gems on it. If you can't see me on Patreon, first of all, go to Patreon. Second of all, look online, you'll see this. And the tartan plaid ears are some of my favorite Christmas merchandise. They also have matching mugs. So it's a really good collection. They've got peppermint. They've got some Fair Isle merchandise, which is like the sweater material for the Spirit jerseys, but it is in the parks. And here's the thing that I will say. If you're looking at some of this stuff and you say, this is super cute, I'm going to wait till December when I'm there at the parks and I'm going to get it, it may be gone. These ears I ordered back in 2023 on DisneyStore.com, and I was super glad because by the time I got to the parks, they were not to be found anywhere. So if you see something that you really love and it's October and you're there and you're thinking, oh, this is one of those, I would get it because they don't restock the Christmas stuff very often. The other thing they came out with this year, which I have been asking for years and years, is the Star Wars Life Day ears. If you're not familiar with Life Day, it is
I
the
love that
Wookiee.
you already have them.
I bought them the moment they come out, dude. They came out. I was in the middle of a queue in Disneyland, and I stopped what we were doing to order them online at DisneyStore.com. Life Day ears. But I have been asking for Life Day ears for years and years. It's the Wookiee celebration of life that happens in November. It's a very important Star Wars holiday. They've had sweatshirts and pins. This is the first time they've had ears. So Jessica, huge Star Wars fan, super excited about Life Day ears. I will be wearing these my next 2 trips. But the big news is the holiday merchandise, including Life Day, is out in the parks. And if you see something you love, much like my Life Day ears, you should get it because they really won't restock it.
It is kind of random, too. I mean, every year I try to guess what's going to be the thing that's going to be gone almost immediately. And I'm only about half right. Sometimes I'm like, this is going to be gone, and it's there till the very end. And there's something else. I'm like, really? That's sold out? Well, there's kind of no telling what's going to be the hot item each year.
Yeah, I can tell you these plaid ears sold out really quickly. So my guess is the green ones are going to sell out. So I may be begging one of you to buy them for me just so that I have them.
I do have to ask, is B. Arthur Is there a picture of B. Arthur on the Life Day
There's not a
ears?
picture of B. Arthur in the Life Day ears, but I'm probably one of the few people who get that reference. So I would just like to say, excellent, excellent.
It's something. You
It's
can
the
find it
best thing
on
ever.
YouTube, and yes, Craig is correct.
B. Arthur.
B. Arthur
Mhm.
of Golden Girls fame appears in the Star Wars Holiday Special. So
Mhm.
you owe it to yourself to see that if you haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, it's a treat.
Craig, you got some fun news for us or something to chat about from the parks?
Well, yeah, I've got some discounts, which is always fun. So at the end of September, like right after we recorded our last podcast, Disney World announced they have 4 new hotel discounts coming up. One for hotel only stays, one for hotel and ticket packages, one for Florida residents, and one for the annual pass holders. So the first one is called Spring into Magic, where anyone can save up to 25% on hotel rooms for most nights between February 22nd and April 30th. They're also offering a discount for what I would call late winter for up to 20% on rooms for stays most Sunday through Thursday nights, though that one does not include weekends. And that's from January 4th through February 19th. The next deal they're offering is up to $250 off per night on a 4-day, 4-night or longer room and ticket package. And it also must be booked through the Walt Disney Travel Company at select Disney hotels. So this deal goes from February 22nd to July 25th. Savings range from $75 per night at the values, $150 per night at the moderates, and up to $250 a night at the deluxes. They're also offering a lower nightly discount, kind of like they did in the other one for the late winter. Florida residents can also save up to 30% on rooms between February 22nd and April 30th. 25% for most Sundays through Thursday nights from January 4th to February 19th. Annual pass holders are getting basically, it's the same days, but it's a little higher. So annual pass holders can get up to 35% off for February 22nd through April 30th, and 30% off most Sundays through Thursday nights from January 4th through February 19th.
So they will say usually on those things, like you mentioned, that you need to book it through the Disney World website. I know a lot of travel planners, the ones that are official, real Disney travel planners, can get access to a lot of those discounts as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always a good idea, if you have a travel planner that you like to work with, to reach out to them, because they always know. They always know the best deals. And
And if you've already booked a hotel, so for example, we had already booked our room for April for the 5K that we're doing, the Run Disney event. We were able to call and get the discount applied. So you can actually, don't forget that even if you've already booked your room, you can call Disney and they'll apply. It saved us over $300 for the room that we had. So it's a really easy just to make that phone call. Even if it says online they can't apply the discount, if you call Disney or you call the number, you can usually get the discount applied. So this is a really good thing, and it's for everybody.
yep. And that's so if you're listening and the dates that Craig just said, it overlaps with a trip you already have booked or a trip you're thinking about booking, go ahead and check, because you can probably get that discount applied. Eric, you have some news for us that you started sharing this news last episode about the Royal Portrait Studio closing down at Sir Mickey's. And I think you have some news for this week about what has replaced it.
So, as this character would like to say, even miracles take a little time. And finally, the fairy godmother is making an appearance in Sir Mickey's, and it's going to be part of the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique experience in the Magic Kingdom. So, if you have little ones and you have a reservation for the boutique at the end of the transformation into a princess, like you're going to be able to go to Sir Mickey's and spend some time with her. So and get some photos with her as well.
Awesome. We also heard, I think, that maybe she's going to be wandering some too, maybe.
Before like it opened over there, I saw her like walking around by Pinocchio's village house, like the castle turret on that side. But we have not been in the parks in a while, so I'm not sure like how things are looking right now.
All right. So guaranteed to see her if you have a Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique reservation. And if not, keep an eye on Fantasyland, because she may be roving about. So, my news this week isn't really news so much as it is a trip report because we just got back from a trip on the Disney Magic, which was our first ever Disney cruise. But I do want to talk about one thing that I think a lot of people talk about when they go on a Disney cruise, how amazing the cast members are, how amazing the service is, and how it's just so much better. The level of service is so much higher than what you get even in the parks. And I kind of wanted to comment on that because we did get amazing service. The cast members were wonderful, but I also felt like it wasn't really hugely different than the great service that we get from cast members in the parks. And I think what is different is the way that the service is structured. Disney takes advantage of the fact that, it's a smaller group of people in a confined space and they can control things more. So for example, when you go on a Disney cruise, you're going to have the same servers every single night. You're going to go to different restaurants, but it's going to be the same servers who know you, who know the things that you like, who know what drinks you like. And so they're able to give you a level of service that just really wouldn't be possible, in a park setting. And then you even have your own dedicated stateroom host who's basically your mousekeeping, essentially. But they do more than mousekeeping. They kind of work almost as a little concierge, a mini concierge, and kind of give you tips. Our stateroom hostess was incredible and just shared lots of insight and helped us with our vacation. So again, though, you wouldn't really have that experience outside of a cruise ship just because it wouldn't really be possible for them to make something like that happen. I do think that Disney has an opportunity to maybe bring some of that level of service through the technology that they have. For example, with the My Disney Experience app, they know so much about our preferences. They know so much about our vacation. They know what lightning lane we booked in the morning, and they know, what dinner we're going to at night. And there's definitely a fine line to walk between being creepy and, and being a good host. But I do think that there's some opportunities. The reason that the service feels so magical on the ship is because the cast members kind of have access to information to make it magical. So I would love to see Disney take some of that and bring it into the parks through the use of the technology that they have. But I want to toss to you, Jessica, because we're going to talk a lot more about our cruise, obviously, in the videos that are coming up. And we're also going to have an Ear Scouts Jamboree that's going to be kind of dedicated to the cruise. If you're not aware, you can join us at our Ear Scouts Jamborees by joining at patreon.com/Ear Scouts. But you just got back from a trip to Disneyland and you were going to look into Oogie Boogie Bash for us because there were some questions people had about Oogie Boogie Bash.
Yep, I did. We spent, it was, spoiler alert, my 50th birthday. So for my 50th birthday, I wanted to be in Disneyland. So Saturday the 27th, on my 50th birthday, I was in Disneyland, which was kind of a bucket list thing. So that was great. But on Tuesday night, we did go to Oogie Boogie Bash. And I will say Oogie Boogie Bash was amazing. It is still not my favorite nighttime event. Jollywood Nights is still my favorite nighttime event. But I liked Oogie Boogie Bash for the same reasons I liked Jollywood Nights. And that is because it's not overscheduled. And the thing about Oogie Boogie Bash is there's not as much to do. And I know that's kind of a crazy thing to say, but they don't have specialty food. They don't have a fireworks. They don't have a stage show. The parade is short, and there's not the same like rush to line up an hour before that there is in Magic Kingdom. So legitimately, we ate before the party started. And at the beginning of the party at 6 o'clock, we were in line for Oogie Boogie. And between 6 and 11, which was the party, we basically just walked in a circle and did treat trails and stopped for the parade. And last thing we did was the Sanderson sisters. But we just walked in a circle. We didn't have to rush. We didn't have to cross the park. We didn't have to worry about being late. We never really stood in a line because the treat trails moved the whole time. And it was much like going to the reason I love Jollywood Nights is you go to listen to a band and there's no line for it. And then you go to listen to another band and there's no line for it. And you go watch a show and there's no line for it. that's why I liked Jollywood Nights. It was the same reason I liked Oogie Boogie, which was I never really had to wait in a line. You got to see the villains. There wasn't people like taking a long time to take photos. The only thing that had long lines was the specialty characters. So if you wanted to take a picture with Meg or Pain and Panic or some of those characters, those lines got long. But if those were not things you cared about, you could legitimately, like we did everything else, including the Sanderson sisters and Hans from Frozen, because we felt bad because he had no line. It was really sad. So we went and met Hans from Frozen because like literally nobody wanted to meet him and he was just standing there, and it's a real human like it's not like it's a face character, so you kind of feel bad for that guy. So we went and had a conversation with Hans because I did legitimately feel bad for that cast member who was friends with Hans, because that was anyway. But other than that, like we didn't wait for anything. We just walked the park. We got I think we got 20 pounds of candy, brought home 20 pounds of candy. We stopped and had a drink a couple places. And it was just this kind of it was so low stress, no schedule, no rush. But it's because there's not a lot to do. And I think that's the difference. If they were to make the Magic Kingdom Not So Scary more like Oogie Boogie Bash, I think you said this, Rob, people would revolt.
Right.
People would revolt, which is if they took away the fireworks and they took away the stage shows and they took away the specialty food and they said, what you're here to do is to do trick or treating and see a parade that will show twice and maybe stand in line for 2 characters, but you're not going to feel like you missed something because you did it all. I'm not sure that would go over in Walt Disney World the way it does in DCA. So that was really, I mean, that's the delta, is there's just, and to me, that was our whole experience in Disneyland, which was Disneyland really, because it's smaller, because everything is smaller, there's huge benefits to that. Yeah, I did want to answer a couple questions from last time, which is there are no villains in Villains Grove. Villains Grove, and I said it's a really good foggy light show walkthrough. It's like if your zoo does zoo lights. I don't know if any of your zoos do zoo lights. It was like Disney World level zoo lights. I mean, it was really cool. Projections, lights, but there are no villains. And I thought that Maleficent was at the end of Villains Grove. She's not. She's a separate line. So I was wrong about that. So you still have to wait in another line to do Maleficent.
For me, it's funny to hear you say that because I did feel like I enjoyed Oogie Boogie Bash more than I do Not So Scary. And I attributed it to the fact that each of the trick or treat trails has a character there, and you have those character experiences constantly throughout the night, and you don't feel like you're waiting in massively long lines to have them. But I think you're right. I think the fact that you don't feel like super stressed out to try to pack everything in does contribute to you feeling like, oh, this is so much nicer. This is, such a much more pleasant evening. Yeah.
I mean, every treat trail we went through had a character, and that's really good. But you're not doing the getting a signature. You're taking a selfie. You're saying hi. Some of them, Ernesto de la Cruz, did I say that correctly? He sings. He's an actual like beautiful singer, and like we stood there. He sings a couple of different songs. The new Syndrome was hilarious. He was telling jokes. He was making fun of people. He was great. So every one of them was amazing.
Eric, did you have something to contribute from Patreon?
Yes. So, well, actually, Elizabeth Kearns was asking, do you think that Walt Disney World Halloween parties will be more successful if they had 2 smaller parties, one on each side?
Oh, you mean like one at Hollywood Studios and one at Magic Kingdom, that kind of thing? So this is the problem that Disney, and this is what Jessica was alluding to. The problem is if Disney were to take anything away from Not So Scary, they're definitely not going to be dropping the price, right? The price goes up every year. And if the story is they took things away and they made it more expensive, that's just going to be a terrible news cycle for Disney. So I don't see them downsizing Not So Scary. And I'm not even saying that they should. I think, I certainly love all the things that are there. I don't want to see any of those things go away. But I do think, I think that could be a good idea to do, because that's what they've done with Christmas. Is Jollywood is a smaller event for people who want a less, chaotic, a little bit more easygoing night. It's more geared towards adults, I would say. So I don't see Disney doing an adult geared Halloween party, just because I feel like that's kind of what they do across town
Yeah.
at Universal. But I could see them maybe doing something that's just different, that's a different vibe, and that's maybe smaller. But I don't know. I could see merit in that, though. What do you think, Jessica?
Yeah, I think so. I think, there's a lot of people that have talked about trying to bring a version of Oogie Boogie to the East Coast. And I think a version of Oogie Boogie would work in Hollywood studios. But if you put a version of Oogie Boogie in Hollywood studios, it would sell out like that. And people would still go to Not So Scary. And it's a totally different thing because you would just focus on the villains. But anyway, that was my big Disneyland kind of trip. And like I said, anybody have any questions, I can talk in the after party about more specifics.
Awesome. Well, moving on to Ear Scouts news, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for their patience these last few weeks. You may have noticed the channel has been a little quieter than normal. Part of that is because we were on board the Disney Magic, but the other reason is that I've been spending a lot of time with my family in Charleston. Unfortunately, my stepdad has been in the hospital. So thank you so much to everyone who sent their prayers and messages of support. It has meant a lot to me and my family. But that's why things have been a little quiet. We do have some really fun videos that are still in the works, and we'll be getting them up as soon as we're able. But we did manage to record 3 different videos during our Halloween on the High Seas cruise aboard the Disney Magic, and I can't wait to share all of those adventures with you. Eric got some incredible scuba diving footage from Castaway Key and Lookout Key. We were in a Junkanoo parade. There was so much that I can't wait to share with all of you, but we're going to get it out as soon as we can. So thank you again, everyone, for your patience. And we'll hopefully have those up soon. But right now, it is time for Pressed Penny for Your Thoughts, where we take a deep dive on a particular topic or question. And this week is all about where you should plan to eat during your next trip to Walt Disney World. And we're focusing first on the table service restaurants in the 4 parks, because these are typically the spots that you need to plan for in advance. Table service dining often requires an advanced dining reservation, and the most popular spots fill up fast. So we want to help you pick the best table service spots for your crew by sharing our favorites here on the show. Now, we're not going to be talking about the restaurants in the different resorts today. Today's all about the 4 parks, and I think we should start out with what is probably the easiest, and that is Animal Kingdom. And I say it's the easiest because there aren't that many to choose from. I'm looking at Disney's website, and they list only 4 table service restaurants in all of Animal Kingdom: Tiffin's, Rainforest Cafe, Tusker House, and Yak and Yeti. I'm surprised they don't include Nomad Lounge here, because their website does include Beacon Barrel in Magic Kingdom, which is more of a lounge like Nomad. But according to Disney, there's just those 4 in Animal Kingdom. So, Craig, why don't you kick us off? What is your favorite Animal Kingdom restaurant and why?
Well, actually, this is a tough one for me because I really don't have an Animal Kingdom restaurant that I have to go back to every time. I'm going to choose Tiffin's. I finally went there in June, our last trip. The food was very good. The service was exceptional, but it just didn't blow me away like a lot of other restaurants have. I will qualify that it was our last day. We had drama with a lost cell phone and our flight kept getting changed. So I was dealing with all that during that. So I'm going to qualify it with that. But as far as, it's definitely my favorite of those 4. But Nomad Lounge would be my pick. I wonder if it's because they don't take reservations at Nomad Lounge like they do at like Geo and Beacon Barrel.
Maybe. But
it would be Nomad Lounge for me.
They had a different filter for reservations that was its own filter. So I don't know why they didn't consider that one table service, because I would, but yeah. All right, Jessica, what's your pick for Animal Kingdom?
So I'm going to try to do I'm going to cheat and do two answers sometimes. Back when I had younger kids, Tusker House, the character breakfast there and the character meal there, it's one of the best, I think, for the price character meals you can get on property. So if you're traveling with kids, Tusker House. Now that my children are older and it's really just John and I normally going to the park, Yak and Yeti, and it's for the tuna nachos. They have an amazing ahi tuna nachos. Also, if it's just two of you, a lot of times you can go into Yak and Yeti. There's a really small, like a 5-person bar that you can get right past the hostess station. We have sat there 2 or 3 times and just had a beer and the ahi tuna nachos. It's one of some of our favorite kind of break locations in the park. But Yak and Yeti has really good, I think it's better than the Chinese food, the Asian food you'll get in Epcot. I think Yak and Yeti is one of the best kind of Asian restaurants on property. So that to me is my favorite.
Eric, what is your favorite restaurant at Animal Kingdom? Table service.
It's going to be another vote for Tiffin's. Like, I really like the food. Just my short answer is adding to what Craig said. Is just the food is very good. But like I would say that it's not very like kid friendly. There are some things, but the food is. I feel like it's more focused towards adults.
For sure. Yeah.
And I forgot to mention the decor in there too. Even if you don't have reservations, if they'll let you like look around if you want to, it's just gorgeous. They have so much great artwork and rooms that have different themes. So I can recommend that as well.
Yeah, the artwork is gorgeous. It really is. It was Joe Rohde's favorite place to be in Animal Kingdom. He was the lead Imagineer who created Animal Kingdom, and they said that when he was there, he ate at Tiffin's every single day that he was in the park, and I can see why, because that is also my favorite restaurant in Animal Kingdom. I will say it's interesting because you said you had not such a great experience. It was good, but it wasn't like over the top amazing. That was how I felt the first time that we went. But the first time we went was right after the pandemic. And Disney World was not Disney World right after the pandemic. I mean, everything was short staffed. It was a challenging environment for everyone, and it was fine. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like I didn't get what everyone was raving about with Tiffin's. And then we went again not that long ago, relatively recently, and oh my gosh, the food was the best. Since then, I've been at Victoria and Albert's, and I can say that that is now the best meal I've had at Disney World. But prior to Victoria and Albert's, my best meal that I had at Disney World was at Tiffin's. I thought the food was exceptional. And like you said, the service is top notch. It's a beautiful environment. And weirdly, it's pretty easy to get a dining reservation there. I don't find that it's usually sold out. So that's one of those. I will agree with Eric though. If you've got and Jessica, if you've got kids, Tusker House all the way. I think they're going to have a lot more fun at Tusker House, and it's the best. Tusker House is the best food of any character dining because they have the stuff that kids are going to like. They're going to have the mac and cheese and the corn dog nuggets and all that, but then they have several buffets of really interesting, unique menu items that are inspired by the flavors of Africa and some flavors from the Middle East. I feel like sometimes you'll find there. You'll find curries. It's a really delightful place to eat, especially if you've got an adventurous palate and you've got kids who you also need to please. Before we move on, we did ask our Patreon family in advance of the show to let us know what their picks were for the different parks. One of the top picks that I saw repeatedly was Yak and Yeti. I saw love for Nomad Lounge and Tiffin's as well. And there were some votes. I will say there were no votes that I saw for Rainforest Cafe, sadly. No love for Rainforest. But I think more votes for Yak and Yeti than I was surprised by how much love Yak and Yeti got. Not that it's not great; it is a great restaurant, but I was expecting to see kind of a blowout with Tiffin's and Tusker House, but nope, Yak and Yeti was up there. So, moving on to our next park, let's talk about Hollywood Studios, which has a few more options. You've got 50s Primetime Cafe, Hollywood and Vine, the Hollywood Brown Derby, Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, and Sci-Fi Dine-In. Jessica, why don't you start us off this round? What's your pick for studios?
So I'm getting to do the mom thing again, and I'm going to do two. If you have little kids, Sci-Fi Diner. My kids and John's kids, Sci-Fi Diner, watching that movie, a burger, good shakes. It's not as expensive as 50 Primetime or Hollywood and Vine. It's a good price, and it
Tell
entertains.
people who haven't been there what's it about? What's Sci-Fi Dine-In all about?
Sci-Fi dining, you can either sit on a bench seat or you can sit in a car. Like you sit, and the kids thought they were driving that car, and it's like an old drive-in theater. They play old black and white. I think there may be some. I only remember the black and white, but old clips from black and white movies like that you would see at the drive-in. You know, you feel like you're in Grease, the movie. You remember that scene in Grease when Sandy and that's just kind of what you feel like. It's a lot of fun. And the kids can sit by themselves if they're old enough, like in their own car seat in front of you or behind you. So they feel like they're, alone and mom and dad aren't watching over them, and they get to order their burger. And it's a really good thing for kids. I just will say. Now, is it the best chicken sandwich burger you'll have in Disney World? Maybe not, but for the environment and the experience. So I put in a kind of an honorable mention for Sci-Fi because I do think that it serves really good purpose. It's also really hard to get into, so I guess a lot of people probably feel that way. I am a Brown Derby person, though. I mean, like, the Brown Derby is Hollywood Brown Derby. It's one of my favorite places. It's where, when I spent my birthday in Disney World, that's the place I asked John to take me for my birthday. We did that right before Hurricane Ian hit and the parks closed down. My last meal at Disney World was at the Hollywood Brown Derby. I think almost every time we're at Disney World, I either get a drink outside or we do the salad inside. And I'm a grapefruit person, so that grapefruit cake. So to me, Hollywood Brown Derby, right now, best sit down restaurant. Maybe at the parks even for me.
Whoa. Wow.
So.
All right. Craig, what do you think? Are you concurring? Do you have a differing opinion?
I am going to just continue what Jessica was saying. For me, it's Brown Derby all day long. I've never had a disappointing meal there. I think it's a perfect lunch break in the middle of the day, just to get away and enjoy a little downtime. The food is amazing. Service is exquisite. And the thing I really like is it has like a Hollywood vibe to it rather than a movie or film vibe, if that makes sense. I mean, you really get to feel like you're in old Hollywood, and you got all the caricatures on the walls of all the old stars and such. And it's just it's a great place for me. It's like, it almost feels like it needs to be part of my Hollywood Studios day is lunch there. So, and I agree. It's definitely one of my top restaurants, period.
All right. Eric, are you going to join in, or do you have a different restaurant you're picking for Hollywood Studios?
So I'm going to pick 50s Prime Time Cafe. Well, if you have never been there, they offer like classic American comfort food. And basically you are going into a kitchen in the 50s, and the person who is serving you is part of your family, and they can bully you. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy that. Now, the food for me, like, there's the meatloaf. Oh Lord, I really, really, really like that meatloaf that they offer over there. There is like an option where you can get like the three main dishes, that it's called the sampling of mom's favorite recipes. It's going to give you some fried chicken, pot roast, and the meatloaf. And everything tastes super good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Eric on this one. First off, I'm gonna say, similar to what we had happen at Tiffin's, the only time we've eaten at Brown Derby where it wasn't for an event like Jollywood was shortly after the pandemic, and it wasn't. I didn't get it. I didn't get the big deal. But I think, again, it's probably the same thing as with Tiffin's. When we do eventually go back there, maybe it'll be, oh, now I get why everyone loves this. But didn't love it when we went. I do, whenever I think about where I want to get a reservation for at at Hollywood Studios, it always ends up being 50s primetime just because I always have fun there. If you enjoy kind of improving with your server and having an interactive experience like that, then you're going to love 50s prime time. And if the idea of having to sort of improv with your server like breaks you out in hives, you're not going to enjoy 50s prime time at all. So it's a very polarizing spot, I think, for that reason. But I agree with Eric. I think I grew up in the South. If you grew up in the South, you're going to find food that does remind you of what you had growing up in your actual grandma's kitchen. So I do feel like a sense of nostalgia when I'm there. And I love the feel of the place. I also am going to give a quick shout out to the peanut butter and jelly cocktail, which they did. The bartenders there developed that one. It wasn't like a lot of the cocktails at Disney World. It's kind of something that can be made in a big vat and poured out, and served to a lot of people very easily. That one they created in house and they mix it fresh to order, and it's very tasty. So I recommend giving that a whirl.
Rob Antonucci from the Dizzlist podcast mentioned, I'm an outgoing guy and I'm not looking for a confrontational meal. I just want quiet.
Me too, Rob. Dizzless Rob and I are the same human because I'm like, I do not want to talk to people when I'm eating. Leave me alone.
Now, I'm very much like that too, but I really had a great time at 50s Prime Time Cafe 2 out of the 3 times. Now, Whispering Canyon was a totally different thing.
I've not been because it
vibe.
scares me. I'll be honest. The food I think would be good. It literally gives me hives, like you said, because my anxiety is so strong that I cannot make myself try 50s prime time. I might love it, but I cannot make myself try it because I just don't want to deal with it. Isn't that awful? But that's where I am.
So the shocker from Patreon, the restaurant that I saw again and again and again, I'm looking at it right now. I cannot believe how many votes it's gotten. I mean, I guess I can because it's so much fun. Woody's Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, lots and lots of love for that spot in the Patreon community. And if you've never gone, it it's much like all of Toy Story Land. You walk in, you feel like you're a toy. That everything is oversized and everything around you is made from toys, and it's a lot of fun. My favorite thing is there are these moments where Andy or a human arrives and everyone in the restaurant has to freeze, including like the servers and everyone who's dining is kind of expected to play along and freeze. And it is adorable. It's really fun. So I can see why there's a lot of love for it. It's also one of those places where they just keep bringing you out whatever you want more of, kind of like they do at Ohana or any of those family style restaurants where it's kind of all you care to eat, but they'll just keep bringing you out more plates of whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the barbecue there was good. It wasn't not my favorite barbecue in Disney World, but not bad. And definitely the theming is what makes that place to me extra special. Jessica in Patreon, not Jessica with the podcast, but Jessica from Patreon says you can get them to not do the antics. You can request no antics when you dine at 50s prime time. So if that's what's stopping you from dining at 50s prime time, you can make that request and then you won't have to worry about having to play along with your long lost uncle. Moving on, it would make sense to go to Epcot next because we're kind of going in reverse order of the parks, but we're going to skip Epcot because Epcot is really difficult. It is by far the hardest place to pick your favorite restaurant in. Disney's website lists 19 different table service restaurants in Epcot, and there are some really amazing choices on that list. So we're going to save that one for last and move on to Magic Kingdom, which is a park that is, shall we say, less known for its culinary offerings. The list on Disney's website includes Be Our Guest, The Beacon Barrel, Cinderella's Royal Table, The Crystal Palace, The Diamond Horseshoe, Jungle Navigation Company Skipper Canteen, Liberty Tree Tavern, The Plaza Restaurant, and Tony's Town Square Restaurant. So a lot of offerings, but typically not landing on most people's favorite restaurant lists. Eric, why don't you start us off for this one? Which is your favorite Magic Kingdom restaurant and why?
So I'm going to be like Jessica. One will be like a Skipper Canteen, just the ambience and just like again the interactions that you have with the cast members. I really enjoy that. Like the terrible puns that you get, and again just the food. The food itself, it's really good. Now, the first time that we went to Tony's, our experience was not very good. But now with the new update that they did to the menu, the food tastes really really good.
All right. So it sounds like your pick is Skipper Canteen, but you're going to give an honorable mention to Tony's because you feel like it's really improved. All
Yes.
right. Craig, what is your pick for Magic Kingdom?
Okay, this shouldn't be a surprise if you heard our first podcast, but I'm going with Skipper Canteen because of those cachapas. It's like one of the most delicious appetizers I've had anywhere, and I dream about it. Again, it's another restaurant like Tiffin's where there's different rooms that have different decor, and I think it's just really cool to be able to like walk through those all and just see what the different kind of ambience is. For my honorable mention, it's going to be Cinderella's Royal Table. Finally went there a little over a year ago, and after avoiding it for literally decades, but it's like, okay, I've got to try it. And I loved it. I had the best time. I really wasn't expecting it. The food was good. It wasn't phenomenal, but it was very good. I enjoyed that for sure. But meeting the princesses and just being in that big room and being in the castle and looking out the windows and seeing Fantasyland, I loved it.
Nice. Jessica, what's your pick for Magic Kingdom?
So I will say I love Skipper's Canteen. We go there a lot, but my favorite place in Magic Kingdom is breakfast at Crystal Palace. And it is the churro waffles. They're one of the few places outside of a cruise ship you can get the churro waffles
I
consistently for
did not
breakfast.
know that.
You can get the churro waffles for breakfast at Crystal Palace. They have the avocado toast. They have salmon. They have a really good breakfast meal there in the morning. And you can consistently meet Eeyore. The parents will understand what I'm saying is sometimes your kids have it in their head when they go to Disney that there's a certain character they really want to meet, and the Winnie the Pooh characters are beloved. They're just beloved by so many kids. And this is a guaranteed place to see all four main characters from Winnie the Pooh. Get a signature, get a hug, get a photo. And the breakfast food, I've been there for dinner once. I will understand it's not as good, but the breakfast food is consistently good. The churro waffles, the coffee, that was everything that you wanted. You can get a mimosa, all of that with Disney, the Winnie the Pooh characters. It's the place over the last 30, long time, over 30 years that I have been going to Disney World. It's the one place I go consistently in Magic Kingdom. So
Wow.
it's my favorite.
So I'm so glad to hear that because I love the character interactions that you get at Crystal Palace, but I was not a fan of the buffet for lunch and dinner. It's pretty meh. So I'm really excited though. Now that I know that they have churro waffles, especially those were delightful. If you've never had a churro waffle, imagine your Mickey waffle deep fried and then coated in cinnamon sugar. It's as delicious as it sounds, possibly even more delicious than it
Yeah.
sounds.
It is pretty darn tasty.
I'm gonna have to try it. That's going on my list. So I'm gonna start my pick with the caveat that I have not yet tried Cinderella's Royal Table. It's on my list. I'm gonna try it. I've heard from our Patreon family that you have to go during fireworks. If you can get a reservation during fireworks, it's just incredible to experience fireworks going off outside the castle while you're dining. So I'm going to try to make that happen. I'm looking forward to that. But since I have not tried Cinderella's Royal Table, my favorite is Skipper Canteen. I'm going to really pretty much just echo what Eric and Craig said. The food there is great. The service is fun. It's not going to be as over the top as they are usually at 50s prime time. So you don't need to really be worried about, having to perform a little skit with your with your server, but they're just going to have some fun little puns. They're going to kind of make little jokes, and it's a delightful experience. The food is a little bit, all the food at Magic Kingdom is a little bit hit or miss, I find. But when it's good, it's really, really good at Skipper Canteen. So I think it's your best bet at getting a really delicious meal. The one caveat I'm going to throw out there, there's not a lot for super picky eaters at Skipper Canteen. There's a few things like they have on the secret menu. They have pau de queijo, which is basically like really mild cheese bread. They have some options, but the best things that they have there are a little bit more adventurous in terms of flavors. But so it sounds like we got Skipper Canteen is a winner, but I'm really liking the runner-up as breakfast at Crystal Palace. I'm excited to try that. But let's ask our friends on Patreon. For this one, we have actual data because we did a poll for Magic Kingdom, and we can tell you in third place was the Crystal Palace. That got 17% of the vote. I'm wondering if a lot of those folks went for breakfast because I'm excited now about breakfast. In second place with 24% is Liberty Tree Tavern. Now, we haven't really talked about that one. And if you love Thanksgiving dinner, Liberty Tree is basically Thanksgiving all year long. But I'm going to share with you what I think is I think it's a good inside tip. Diamond Horseshoe got 0% of the vote. Liberty Tree Tavern got 24% of the vote. It's the exact same meal. It's coming from the same kitchen. There's nothing different about the meal. The only thing that's different is the vibe. And for me, I much prefer the vibe at Diamond Horseshoe. It's brighter, but it's also just, I don't know, it's got a more fun, there's like a player piano. And, I do wish they would bring back performances in there because they used to have.
I've never been to Diamond Horseshoe. Is it, there's no characters there? There's characters at Liberty Tree Tavern. Is that the difference, or?
I don't think they have characters at Liberty Tree Tavern either.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, weird.
They don't.
Because I've honestly never been to Diamond Horseshoe thinking it was totally different. So that's good to know.
Same exact restaurant, just I think a cooler atmosphere. So if you're a fan of Liberty Tree, go try out Diamond Horseshoe next time and let us know what you think.
Okay, and I knew I wasn't crazy. Liberty Tree Tavern used to have characters.
Oh.
So I know I have been there with characters. It used to have. I don't know when it stopped, but they haven't had since 2009.
Okay.
So back when my children were very young.
At all.
And Diamond Horseshoe used to have live performances, right? They had live music on the stage, correct?
Yeah. They did. They used to.
You know what it might have been is I went for lunch always. So maybe like the characters were part of a dinner thing. Back then, like lunch and dinner were two totally separate things. Different menus, different experiences. Now they've just kind of
Sorry,
mushed
Rob,
them
we're
together.
giving you things to cut from the podcast.
No. I think a lot of this will end up in there. Yeah, this is good stuff. I am going to say the one thing I'm going to have to give a lot of love to, well, it's love-hate for Liberty Tree Tavern. The dessert is so good. I cannot leave there without having a second helping of dessert. I swear I gain 5 pounds every time I eat at Liberty Tree or Diamond Horseshoe, same menu. I don't go there anymore just because I can't trust myself to stop eating that delicious dessert. It's sort of like I think it's sticky toffee pudding. And then it's topped with vanilla ice cream and then caramel sauce. And it is just heavenly. It's so good. And they will keep bringing you as much as you want, which is not a good thing always. So yeah. And then the number one, however, on Patreon, the number one pick was Skipper Canteen. It is beloved. It's a great spot. So if you haven't done Skipper Canteen, especially if you have an adventurous palate, it's going to be your new favorite place in Magic Kingdom. Well, now for the most difficult park by far I'm not going to spend 6.5 minutes reading out the names of all the Epcot table service restaurants, but there are 19 of them. But I will tell you the ones that I haven't tried yet. I've never eaten at La Cava, which is mainly known for cocktails. I've had a cocktail there. I've had margaritas there. I've had tequila there. But it does have the La Cava experience, which includes food. So I've never done that. So I haven't tried La Cava for food. I've also I've not tried Monsieur Paul, which is extremely expensive. Is a very fancy dining experience that is upstairs from Le Chefs de France. There's Shikisai and Takumi Te. I've not been to either of those restaurants, which are in the Japan pavilion. I have been to the other ones there, Tepanito, which I enjoyed, but I haven't been to those. So just putting out the caveat, those restaurants I cannot comment on because I haven't tried. But if I'm going to go with the favorite restaurants that I've tried, I'm kind of torn because there's the restaurant that I always end up going to. I've eaten at this restaurant probably more than I've eaten at any restaurant in Disney World. So by definition, that makes it my favorite, right? That is Spice Road Table. I love Spice Road Table because it is one of the few places in Disney World where you can sit down and you can get a legitimately healthy meal. Now, there are unhealthy options there as well. My favorite thing is the deep fried hummus, which pretty sure deep fried hummus, not healthy, but they have a lot of really good healthy options. I've eaten almost everything on the menu and it's a little hit or miss. I think it does depend on who the chef in the restaurant is that day, because I do notice that it swings wildly in terms of quality. The deep fried hummus is always good. That never gets messed up. But the other things, it does kind of, if you had a bad experience there, I would say give it another try because it does kind of vary a bit. But if I'm going to pick the restaurant at Epcot that I keep dreaming about, that I keep wanting to go back to, it is Beer Garden, which might be a surprise. I don't feel like I hear a lot of people talk about Beer Garden, but Beer Garden is in the Germany pavilion and it's a buffet and they have lots of basically German comfort food. There's going to be like that German version of mac and cheese. I think is it Spätzle? Is that what that's called? Am I right on that?
Spätzle, yeah.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, that was a much better pronunciation. They have lots of different bratwurst and it's all kind of tends to be very rich, very heavy food, but it's delicious. It's really good. They have live music that's really fun, and it feels like you're in an attraction because it's the whole interior is very themed. It feels like old school Epcot. And I just love the vibe. I love the music. I love the food. And the reason I don't go back is kind of similar to my problem with uh, Liberty Tree Tavern. I just don't trust myself in there because I eat way too much because it's so good. So if you want a heavy meal, if you want to have a good sit down meal where you're just going to enjoy comfort food and then go back to your hotel and take a nap, Beer Garden is my pick. Jessica, what's your Epcot pick?
So it's interesting you say that because this is it's kind of similar for me where the restaurant we go to the most is Spice Road Table. The restaurant we go to the most in Epcot for whatever reason, we end up at Spice Road Table. And I don't know what John would say if he's in the comments or something, but Spice Road Table I think is probably the top favorite. But the restaurant I dream about is the Creperie. I've only been there twice. I love crepes. Crepes. I love crepes. I love dessert crepes. I love savory crepes. I love everything about crepes. And they have a whole restaurant devoted to crepes. Now, no one else in my family likes crepes. So I don't get to go that often. So, because let me tell you what they have at the Creperie. Crepes. That's it. There's no other, the menu is savory crepes, dessert crepes, and soup. There's no other food. So if you don't like crepes, you don't get to go. But for me, I dream about La Creperie. In fact, I talk about it every time we're going to Epcot. I'm like, could we go get crepes today? And John's like, I really don't like crepes. I'm like, okay. But I dream about the Creperie. So to me, it's probably my favorite. It could be because I dream about it and it might not actually be my favorite, but Spicer is the one we end up going to the most.
I have to ask, what's your favorite savory crepe?
Oh, they have there's a chicken mushroom cream sauce one.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I have to say that's another one of my favorites. And I had that the first time and I've been disappointed kind of since.
Well,
But
don't
I need
tell
to
me
go back
that
and just get
because
that
I'm
one
dreaming
again.
it. I'm dreaming about it still.
Well, Craig, what about you? What's your favorite? What's your pick for Epcot?
Okay, well, things I haven't done. So I haven't done Beer Garden, and I think a lot of that has to do with the whole audience participation thing that has me not wanting to try it. But one of these days we will. Haven't done Coral Reef, Garden Grill, or Monsieur Paul, but we are going to do Monsieur Paul in December. I'm really excited
Exciting.
about that. Anyway, so my favorite though is Shikisai in the Japan Pavilion. It's sushi. It's a lot of Japanese street food. I love watching YouTube videos of like Asian street food being made. And then they were all on the menu, like takoyaki, which is like octopus balls. So Rob, I don't recommend that. But they also
He
have
ate
like
them. He ate them in Japan.
okonomiyaki.
Mm-hmm. I had some of those in Japan, and
Oh yeah.
anything deep fried, is good to some extent.
Mhm.
But yeah,
They gave us like little origami things to take home afterward. I've also been to Takumi Te, which is a very high-end, very expensive prix meal that my BFF Sari took me to for my birthday a couple years ago. And that probably had the most delicious thing I've ever had on a menu, which was a tempura fried lobster tail. And it was just perfectly cooked and succulent. So, but yeah, Shikisai all the way. They have a sake tasting flight that always makes me very relaxed and very happy by the end of the meal. So I highly recommend it. Spice Road Table is my honorable mention as well. I won't go into it. We've already talked about it. Now, as far as being nostalgic, which you know me, I'm always going to wax nostalgic about what used to be there decades ago, but Akershus, before the princesses moved in, was my favorite, hands down, because it was a buffet, all these different things, Norwegian foods to try, cheeses, vegetables. It was great. And I have not been back, I will say, but just looking at the menus, I don't think it's as cool as it used to be.
all right. I will say that I really liked Akershus. We went when with the princesses, and they did still have a lot of Norwegian delicacies on the menu. We went for lunch, not for the breakfast menu. And so, have you tried it since the princesses invaded?
I haven't. Once I saw they didn't have the mashed rutabagas on the menu, I just kind of got mad.
Well, I would say give it a try. Give it a try. It was still very good. But yeah, I can imagine that it maybe was better when it was a full buffet of exciting Norwegian delicacies. Eric, what is your pick for Epcot?
So mine is soccer shoes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I really like the food over there. Well, if you have little ones, I mean, now you can meet the princesses. But for me, just like the food was really really nice. It was very unique, and it was something uh, new to try. Oh, and especially we have not been able to find it again, but they have a beer that that beer was amazing. Like that that was like the best beer that I have had in my life.
Wow.
And I've been trying to find it again, and we have not been able to find the name of it. So
It was
yeah.
a Norwegian beer that they had on tap. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't they usually have Leinenkugel there?
So here's the reason why we haven't been able to find it, because when we ate there, they were like, we're sorry, the beer that we normally have on tap is not available, but we have this other beer from Norway that's wonderful. You should try it. And we should have probably written it down or taken a picture or something, because now no one has any idea what that beer was, but it was very good.
The cast members told us that that was his father's favorite beer, and yeah, again, we have not been able to find it.
So from our Patreon family, we got us so many, kind of all over the map, what you would expect, because Epcot has so many options. But one restaurant that came up again and again that we have not talked about, well, there's two. One, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about this one, Le Cellier, which is the steakhouse in Canada. It is legendary. I mean, if you were to ask, I think a random person on the street, what's the best restaurant in Epcot? I think a lot of people would come up with this Le Cellier because it's kind of well known as being a really good steakhouse. This is another one of those pandemic things. We went right after the pandemic. It was fine. It wasn't amazing. It was good, but we will try it again because I do want to give it another whirl. I've heard nothing but great things about Le Cellier though from people who have gone recently. Just rave about how good it is. So Le Cellier, a big favorite amongst our Patreon family, and another one. Also surprised we haven't talked about this one. Garden Grill. Garden Grill. It's Eric. Eric is making a big no-go sign. He's like, I am not. So funny story.
I'm not going back there again.
Eric can ride the teacups after a giant meal, no problem. But the revolving restaurant at Garden Grill, because it just goes so slowly, I guess. I don't know what it is, but you looked green like within a minute of sitting down there. You were just like, couldn't do it, right?
Yeah, like it just gave me motion sickness. And as you said, like I can ride anything and I'm okay, but just standing, like just sitting down there, like it's just, I don't know. I can deal with it. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Mission Space, no problem. Garden Grill, no, get me off of this thing.
How did you do it? Have you done Space 220 and sat next to the windows? Did that bother you?
Mm,
Oh, so it's
yeah,
just the
like
motion on the Garden Grill.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think it's just because it's so slow. It's almost like, I think it's also, and you had some issues on the ship as well. You have a little bit of a seasickness issue, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
I think it's that slow movement that
Mm-hmm.
that gets Eric. So if you have seasickness, maybe Garden Grill not going to be for you. But it is a very popular one, and it's a very popular character meal. I think a lot of people love that one for breakfast. I know that that's one of those spots where it opens earlier than the park. So a lot of people love to go get breakfast there and kind of get in early. Because if you don't have early entry, but you have a dining reservation at Garden Grill, you can get in ahead of park opening. So that's another, I think, reason people love that spot. But yeah, so those are the two that I saw coming up a lot. There were a lot of other picks as well. Epcot is an embarrassment of riches. As you can tell, we all had different spots that we chose, but Spice Road Table came up a lot. Yeah.
And the thing I find, I don't eat at the restaurants as much because of the festivals.
Yeah, and that's the other thing with Epcot. You're always wanting to try the festival food. There's so many great snacks at Epcot all year round. Things like school bread or crepes, like you were mentioning, Jessica. There's a little crepe stand, and maple popcorn is another one. So many delicious things to eat in Epcot that it's hard to fit in a table service meal sometimes. And one thing that someone did mention in the chat, I saw, they said definitely consider Spice Road Table during fireworks. Because you have an amazing view of the fireworks. Spice Road Table, most of the dining is outside. Surprisingly, it doesn't usually feel swelteringly hot there. I don't understand how that works, but it doesn't usually feel uncomfortable even on hot days. But it is an outdoor dining spot, and you do have a great view of fireworks from there. Well, now that we've helped you pick your new favorite place to eat at Walt Disney World, let's help you plan the rest of your trip by answering your questions from YouTube and Patreon. We're going to start off with one from YouTube from Sarah Zinkel 2481, who has a question about Rider Switch and Lightning Lane. She says, we'll have 7 people wanting to ride. I envision half of us will go, and then the second half will go after. But does that mean we have to wait until the second group taps in before we can book our next ride with Lightning Lane? Or is there a way our whole group can tap in at the same time and then still wait with the baby? So if you've never done Rider Switch before, you don't have to use Lightning Lane to do Rider Switch. Basically, if you've got a little one or really anyone in your party who doesn't want to ride with everyone else and needs someone to stay with them while everyone else rides, then part of your group can ride And then once they're done, the other part of the group gets to go through the lightning lane and ride next. So they don't have to essentially wait in line twice. They can just come out, when the first part of the group rides, and then when they finish, they can trade off and the other group rides. Now, if you've got a larger kid, a bigger kid who is going to ride, a lot of times with Rider Switch, they'll let the kid ride with both groups. So it can be also a good way for your bigger kid to get to ride their favorite ride twice. But with Lightning Lane, it works a little differently. Because everyone's going through the Lightning Lane to begin with, the cast members are going to ask that the group that's not going in, they should wait to tap in at the Lightning Lane when it's their turn to ride. And unfortunately, that does mean that you can't go ahead and book another Lightning Lane with everyone in the group until everyone is tapped in. So that is a catch. You're not going to be able to tap in early and book your next Lightning Lane. You're going to have to wait until everyone has ridden. While we're on the subject of Lightning Lanes, Jessica, I think you have a Lightning Lane question as well.
I do. And if I butcher this name, I apologize in advance. But Faggy 2002 asks, is a bonus Lightning Lane, aka an experience redemption, only good for the same day? And I will say generally, yes. But if you get it at the end of the day, if you haven't used it, you can, sometimes they will turn it over and it'll work for the next day. But if it happens at the end of the day, you'll typically find it's like a 24-hour period and it'll roll to the next day. But I would check. I'll say it happened to us. We were at Animal Kingdom. We had an issue with Flight of Passage. They gave us an exemption, and they specifically told us when they gave it, it was for 24 hours, not for just that day. So we were able to use it actually on Remy's the next day because we were going to Epcot. So I think we've already talked about this, or maybe we'll talk about it, but it could be that you could even use it at a different park. Sometimes they have a list of rides that you can use them on. So not always the same day, but I would look and I would ask the cast member to make sure.
Yep. Look in the app at your experience redemption. Like you said, if it's late in the day, a lot of times it will expire 24 hours later and you'll see all 4 parks because they're assuming you're not going to be going to the same park the next day. So they open it up to all the parks. But also, as Jessica said, if you're polite to the cast members and have a good reason, they may let you use it at a different park. They may let you use it a different day. So, Craig, you got another Lightning Lane question for us?
I do. Here's another Lightning Lane experience redemption question from Patreon. LNH wants to know if you can use an experience redemption to re-ride an attraction that you've already used the Lightning Lane for in that same day. And the answer is yes. You can use an experience redemption pass to ride something you've already used a Lightning Lane for, as long as that ride is on the list of attractions you get with your experience redemption pass. So when you get an experience redemption pass, there's only a certain amount of rides you can use that in. So you just have to check that. Each attraction might have a different list. It's not necessarily all tier 2s or all tier 1s. Well, if you have a tier 1, you can usually use for tier 2s. But as long as the ride you want to ride again is on that list, you can use your experience redemption pass for that to get through the line quicker.
Yep. I actually got another Lightning Lane question here from Angie Teed 6064 on YouTube, who wants to know, when do you usually have the most success in modifying a Lightning Lane? Is it the day of, midnight on the day of, or a certain time of day in the week prior? So they're talking about pre-booking Lightning Lanes here. With Lightning Lane Multipass, you can book 3 attractions 3 days out if you are just having a regular ticket, or you can book it as much as 7 or more days out if you're staying at a qualifying Disney Resort hotel. But what I talk about in a lot of my videos, even if you're not staying at one of those resort hotels, you can modify closer to your visit and usually get the rides that you didn't think you were going to be able to get when you were booking later than everyone else. For me, I would say I have the most luck the evening before and the morning of. And I'm more of a night owl, so I prefer to modify the night before, but I've talked to other folks. I think, Jessica, you're a morning person, right? and
Yes,
you have your most luck modifying on the morning of, correct?
that's right.
Yeah. So I think it's just a preference. If you're more of a night owl, I do it the night before, and you'll usually be able to get what you want. And if you're not, be like Jessica and do it in the morning of. But both work really well. The other thing that I like to do, just randomly, don't don't spend a lot of time with this, but just if you're waiting in line at the supermarket, or you're just anytime that you might pull out your phone and play a little game on your phone like Wordle or Candy Crush or something, before you play that little game, just go and check. Just check to see if the ride you're looking for, if you're able to modify to it. That has happened to me a lot. It's shocking. Sometimes it's just random. 2 days before, in the middle of the afternoon, boom, there's a Slinky Dog Dash, and a great time for it. And it's just random, So check randomly, but if you're gonna really spend some time trying to get what you're aiming for, I would say night before, morning of. Jessica, you got another lightning lane question for us?
I have one that's kind of a lightning lane question, but more of a trip planning question. Um, Aubrey Baker, 8469, I love all these numbers with people, wants to know if our flight lands at 2 p.m. and Magic Kingdom closes at 11 p.m., is it worth purchasing multi-pass for arrival day? And I think this is one of those big, it depends. I think if you're only going to get to go to Magic Kingdom this day because for whatever reason, and particularly if there's like a party and this is your only night at Magic Kingdom, get Tron 100%. And as she said, multi-pass, but I would try to get Tron to ride it at night. That would be a really good use. Tiana's at night is really nice. I think some of those, Big Thunder Mountain, some of those rides that you can really ride at night that are great at night, it might be worth it to go ahead and get the multi-pass so you can definitely use it. I think be aware that you may not be able to get more than the first 3 rides. Because if you land at 2, you're realistically not at the park till 3:30, so you're not going to get as much time. But you could get 4, maybe 5 rides in. And I think it's definitely, if that's why you're going, that's a great reason. Now remember, now there is a nighttime parade and fireworks that you're probably going to want to see. Or let's say you don't really want to see it. It's a good time to ride rides without paying money for a lightning lane. My caveat would be Tron. I would get Tron and ride Tron at night. I've only gotten to ride Tron at night, I think once or twice, and it was still the best time to ride Tron. That's the one thing that I would do is get a Tron, and maybe just, if you don't care to watch the parades or the fireworks, go ride rides during then.
I think that's great advice. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, Tron is, I think, way more valuable. It's probably going to
Mhm.
cost less than getting multi-pass, and that ride always has a terrible wait. I feel like you're never going to
Yes.
find usually a great wait time for Tron, even at the end of the night.
And it goes
So
up. It's the one
yes,
that goes up at night because it is better at night.
yep, yep. I think that's great advice. So yeah, I agree with you. I would say unless you just you just want to ride all night and skip the fireworks and skip everything else, and maybe multi-pass is worth it, but Tron is a great idea. Yeah. Craig, do you have a lightning lane related question?
Yeah, I've got one here about the old free Genie service. Now, Genie Plus is gone, but that free Genie service is still there, and it's what you want to use to pin rides to the top of the screen. So when you're booking Lightning Lanes, they come up to the top. It's just a lot easier to get the rides that you want if you're able to put them on your list, and they pin them to the top. So Master Yoda 5555 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 fives. So Master Yoda 55555 asks, how far in advance should we pin the favorites at each park? Can we do it a week out or the morning of? Now, you can make your top picks for attractions ahead of time on the My Disney Experience app, but you won't see them as pinned to the top of your list until the day of. So you can pick them out, but then not until the day of will you get a list where they're pinned to the top when you're actually choosing lightning lanes. Now, that being said, the system can be really buggy. So if you do make your picks ahead of time, make sure you check them again the day of or before that even, and be prepared to reselect them if you have to.
Yeah. I find that system so buggy that even during the same day, like throughout the day, I'm constantly having to repin things because it just forgot my pin selection. So definitely days out, it's going to forget. It's going to forget your pins before you get there. Well, I think this is our final Lightning Lane related question. And it's really more about picking a hotel, but it's Lightning Lane adjacent. So, Learning with Hannah 5726 is visiting the week of Thanksgiving and considering staying off property at a Good Neighbor hotel. She wants to know, do you think it is worth spending more for a Disney resort to get access to the earlier Lightning Lane booking window? Here's the thing. I think there's a lot of reasons to consider a Disney resort. I would say if the only reason you're considering it is to get an earlier Lightning Lane booking window, definitely not. As we talked about earlier, you can usually get whatever it is that you want the night before or the morning of, or sometimes just randomly checking, in the days before you get to the park. So I would not say it is worth spending a whole lot more just for that. Having said that, we did a whole episode. You can go back and listen about why we love staying inside the Disney bubble. There's a lot of good reasons to stay at Disney World hotels. I would say that's pretty low on the list. Would you guys agree with that?
Hmm. Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking. It's just that one isn't worth it. If that's the only thing you're looking for, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, Craig, you got another question for us?
I do, and this one is not at all about lightning lanes. So we're going to switch gears here entirely and talk about one of my favorite subjects, shoes. So Megafur04 asks, what model of shoes do you use for those long walks in the parks? And they also say cheers from Mexico. So cheers, Megafur04. So between being a dancer when I was younger and jobs that required me to be on my feet all day, I've had some serious foot issues in the past. But several years ago, I discovered Hoka brand, Hoka, and I swear up and down by them. Not only they're comfortable, but they've actually literally reversed an issue I had with my feet for years. If you go to their website, they even have a shoe finder feature where they ask you questions and you just answer about like what you're planning on using the shoes for and what issues you might have with your feet. And it really helps guide you to design a shoe that works for you personally. They're a little, well, they're expensive. They're not cheap. I'll say that. But for something personally, for something that you're going to use every day and something that is going to have a big impact on your vacation. If your shoes are bothering you, you're getting blisters, your feet are killing you, it's going to put a damper on your day. So I do recommend spending a little extra for something that's really good quality. Another thing I like to wear that I just found out recently a few years ago is I have a pair of slides that I always take with me. And that's because I don't get blisters with them. They're just as comfortable. I don't have foot problems with them, and I don't get the blisters.
You're talking about the Hoka slides?
Yeah, well, Hoka makes a good slide. I also bought a pair at Disney Springs at the Fit to Run store, and that brand was OOFOS, OOFOS. I like them as much as the Hokas. I keep them in my owner's locker, actually. I just don't wear them in the rain. That's one thing I learned the hard way, because they do get really slippery as you're trying to walk through, and you can just fall off and hurt your ankle pretty bad.
No.
Yeah, it can happen. Any suggestions, Rob?
Well, it's funny you should mention the UFOs because I just got from a recommendation from someone. They said you have to try the UFOs. I love them. They're like, they're slides, like kind of, sandals with like a strap across the top kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they have great support. I was actually planning to I was like, these would be great when it's raining because I hate it when your feet get completely drenched and you've got wet socks and squishy shoes all day. It's the worst. I was like, I'm just going to wear these on rainy days. So I'm glad to know that not to try that because they're probably going to be slippery.
Well, as long as you don't like try to run in the rain, if it's that bad, we're trying to get from point A to point B quickly. But if you're careful, yeah, you can definitely do that.
I will second the Hokas, and I will also say Hokas are pretty pricey. And my standard shoe that I wear in the parks is actually New Balance 880s. If you go to any of the New Balance outlets, just ask them for, it's kind of their top of the line running shoe. And it's just got great support. And I find it to be the perfect thing for long days in the parks. It's also one, unfortunately, that almost never goes on sale because it is kind of their flagship, but it's worth it. Don't cheap out and get the other New Balance that are like half off at the outlet, because there's a reason that the 880s don't ever go on sale, because they are that good. But they're also, even not without being on sale, they're cheaper than the Hokas. So I do love Hokas though as well. So those are my two picks. Jessica, Eric, do either of you have shoe picks?
I am a Hoka person also. I just started wearing Hokas like 3 years ago. And I've really liked them. The reason I like them is they come in wide and extra wide. So if, like me, you're starting to get what my family calls my grandma feet, which is they get a little wider. They're great shoes for that. But I did for this last trip that we took. So for those of you that remember when for July 4th, we met we met Rob in a very, very wet Epcot to take a picture. And I did not have good sandals. So I went and bought my very first pair of Croc sandals, slip-on sandals. So not the full Croc, but the ones that have open toes, and wore those in a rainy day. And I thought I hated Crocs, and these were super comfortable. My feet didn't slip. I didn't get a blister. I wouldn't wear them for a full park day, but for a rainy day, I am a Croc convert. And I don't think I ever would have said that before. So I love my Hokas, but for the rainy days, I now have 2 pairs of Croc sandals, and I'm pretty excited about them. So I made fun of people who wore them for years, and now I'm one of those people. So there you go.
Eric, do you have a pick for the best shoes for the parks?
Yeah, I'm going with New Balance. Those are the ones that I use at work and just like when we go to the parks, and I feel that they are very comfortable, except for the rain. It's easy for them to get like some water inside of them. But again, other than that, they are very good.
Nice. Well, I've got a couple of park strategy questions here. Jessica Santiago 5061 wants to know, if you are park hopping from Animal Kingdom, what is the best strategy to get the shortest wait possible on Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind? I have a very disappointing answer to this, and that is there's not really a good, reliable time to find a short wait for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Your best bet is going to be to do it during early entry. But even rope dropping is not usually the best time. It's so many people are just going to that ride first thing in the morning. Unless you're in that first wave of people arriving at it, there's just not likely to be. Now, that's not to say you won't randomly find times throughout the day where it just, for some reason or another, gets a little bit shorter, but I don't find it to be a reliable time frame that happens. It's just kind of random and luck of the draw. But if you're park hopping for Animal Kingdom, obviously you're not going to be there for early entry. So I don't know of a good time. Does anyone have a suggestion that I'm missing? Does anyone else have a surefire Guardians of the Galaxy plan?
Not for later in the day, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, even at the end of the night, that's one of those things. When it first went off of virtual queue, I even said, I was like, this is going to be one of those rides you could do right as fireworks is starting, because everyone's going to be watching fireworks. Nope. A lot of people are watching fireworks, and a whole lot of people are still getting in line for Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, it's kind of luck of the draw after early entry, I think. Well, we got another park planning question. This one is from Kenya Guerra 3989. She's going to be using early entry from an Epcot area resort and using Lightning Lane Multipass. And the plan is to ride Remy and Frozen during early entry, and then to make Test Track the pre-booked Tier 1 Lightning Lane. And they want to know, does that make sense, or do we suggest something different? That makes perfect sense. That's exactly what I would do. If you're coming in from the back, Test Track is your best use of your first Lightning Lane because it is nowhere near you. By the time you get there, that line's going to be crazy. The other reason I love a Lightning Lane for Test Track is because that ride goes down all the time. It's I feel like it's becoming the rise of the resistance of Epcot. It's down constantly. Maybe it's just when I'm there. I don't know. But it also goes down for weather. It's the only ride, I think, in Epcot that goes down for weather. So we got a lot of thunderstorms here in Orlando. If you've got a lightning lane for it, you don't have to worry. You're going to be able to come back. You'll get the experience redemption. You can come back and ride it later. So lots of reasons to make test track your first lightning lane. And as you mentioned, Remy, it's right there when you come in for early entry. Frozen is usually a great second ride when you're coming in from the back. So good plan. And finally, we have one last question. And this one is about deals. Everybody likes to get a good deal. And Cats Florida, well, actually, it's Cats FL, but I'm guessing based on the question that she's Cats Florida, has a question about Florida resident tickets. She wants to know, I know there was one earlier this year for January to Marchish. Do you know when they might announce something similar for early 2026? She's talking about a Florida resident ticket deal that was offered early this year, beginning of the year. And I looked into this and I asked a lot of folks on Patreon and other places. I reached out to some of our friends who are travel planners. We all chatted about it. It's a little random. They did do this last year. It was super last minute. Like when it came out, it was like, here's a deal and it's going to start tomorrow. So it wouldn't be anything that you would have been able to plan for, right? Because you wouldn't have known it was going to happen for sure until the day it happened. Now, having said that, we did see some patterns when we looked at previous offers. It does look like Disney tends to release a batch of offers in September, October. So basically right around now. Those are usually hotel deals, though. They're not usually ticket deals. And those will be for more than Florida residents. In fact, that was the top of the show. Craig was talking about. Craig was just talking about this. This is so yes, this is a typical time. You'll also find usually in the spring they'll do around March they'll do an AP and a regular general public hotel discount, and they may do a Florida resident discount. They sometimes will do them for the holidays, like they did do a special. Let me see. It was a Florida resident ticket deal that's actually going on right now, and it's valid from October 5th through December 23rd. So they'll do it for the holidays, and sometimes they'll do it again at the beginning of the year, but you can't count on it because they announce it right before it's going to go out there. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have left for questions this week. But if you still have questions, let us know in the comments on one of our Year Scouts videos on YouTube, or join us live at patreon.com/Ear Scouts. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can hear the answer if we're able to include it. But before we go, we have one last segment that we like to call Happy Thoughts, which is just a fun little tidbit at the end of the evening. Jessica, why don't you start us off? What is your happy thought this week?
So, as part of our trip to California, we also were able to get the D23 tour of the Burbank Walt Disney Studios. So, we drove up to Burbank and we did that tour. And my happy thought was I put my hands where Harriet Burns' hands were. If you don't know who Harriet Burns is, she was the first female Imagineer. She's actually an engineer and designed the tiki birds for the tiki room. I talk about it a lot. It's one of my favorite attractions. It's one of my favorite attractions because she's a woman in STEM, and it's a really cool story about why DEI matters. Not to go too deep, but her story and how she used what she knew as a woman to make those tiki birds breathe. Super cool, super interesting. And I got to put my hands on her Legends plaque and put my hands where hers were. And it was a really cool moment that it was great because the tour guide knew why I liked her. A lot of people don't know when I say Harriet Burns who that is. Tour guide, who was a woman, Dakota, big props, knew exactly why a female engineer would find Harriet Burns exciting. And she's kind of a legend there too. So that was my happy thought. It was a really cool moment for me.
Awesome. I love that. Craig, you got a happy thought for us this week?
I do, and it just happened this morning, and it's kind of simple, but I had a wait list set up for my trip in December because I had to get booked 2 different accommodations at Bay Lake Tower for our last nights 2 nights, and one of the wait lists came through, so now we don't have to change rooms, so we're just gonna be in the same room for the last 2 nights, and that made me very happy this morning. But also, I just want to talk about persistence. Just got to keep trying things. Like, first of all, I couldn't find any rooms for DVC for those nights. Then I found one. Then I found another one, and then I'm able to get the other one the same as the first one. So just keep going, people. Keep trying. Don't take no for an answer.
I'm glad to hear that persistence paid off and you're going to get the room you were looking for. Eric, did you have a happy thought for us this week?
Yes, I just want to give a shout out to the cast members from the cruise. The shows that we experienced over there were just fantastic. They went above my expectations, and I just want to say like they do a very amazing job.
Yeah, if you've never done a Disney cruise before, the shows are, wow, incredible. And there's a different set of shows, I think, on every ship. So we're going to get to go see all different shows if we do more Disney cruises. And I guess that's why Disney does it that way. But yeah, I agree. Big props to the cast members who make those shows happen. They're amazing. Well, I'm actually going to share as my happy thought an audiobook from Audible that I really loved listening to recently. And I promise I'm not doing this just because they're our new partner. I'm doing this because this is a book that I'm obsessed with. I loved it so much. It's called Disney War by James B. Stewart. It's an older title, so you may have read this a long time ago or listened to the audiobook a long time ago. But it's all about the Eisner years at Disney. And I love Michael Eisner. He's my favorite of the Disney CEOs. And it's funny to me because when this book came out, a lot of people kind of thought it was an anti-Eisner book, that it was kind of almost like a hit piece, against Michael Eisner. But I think when you read it, especially, or listen to it on Audible today, and then you look at it in hindsight, you realize that, man, Eisner was such a great CEO for so many reasons. But this book made me love him even more. If you love Walt Disney World as it is today, if you love the resorts and you love the bubble, let's call it the Disney bubble. If you're a fan of the Disney bubble, Eisner is really the CEO that made the Disney bubble a thing. And you're going to discover that so many of the things that you love about the parks, you're going to be surprised how many of them came during that Eisner era. And even the things that people often point to as his biggest mistakes, like Euro Disney, which we all know and love as Disneyland Paris, man, most people can only dream of creating a quote unquote failure as incredibly beautiful and magical as Disneyland Paris. If that's the failure of Michael Eisner, man, what an amazing legacy to have if that's your failure, because that's an amazing park. So it really is a super fun book to listen to. And of course, you can listen for free by visiting audibletrial.com/earscouts. Okay, that is a plug. But you can visit audibletrial.com/earscouts and select Disney War as your free audiobook when you sign up for a free trial. And while you're signing up for things, be sure to subscribe to this show wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Until then, don't forget to think happy thoughts, everybody. We'll see you again real soon.